morning, happy afternoon, and happy evening to my Nanbas and Nanbis. Everybody in the comments kept putting, ma'am, please revise audit of items of FS. Items of FS, let's do it with together, ma'am. Like that, you kept asking. We all know this is a very important chapter. Attempt on attempt, it comes for 10 whole marks, guys. Exam is so close, and I don't want to ignore your comments. Items of financial statements is split into three. The first one is the profit and loss items, second is the balance sheet items, and third is the additional information. You would have studied P&L items and balance sheet items, but if you are smart, examiner is doubly smart. He can ask questions from the additional information part, and in the previous attempts he has asked from this part, guys. If you have studied this, then just see through the video whether you have studied, covered all the points. Just keep marching forward. If you have not touched this chapter, please study at least these points. The first one is corporate social responsibilities. If the company is covered under section 135 of the act, then please disclose all of these 8 points. What are the 8 points? The first one is, what is the amount which is required to be spent as per the act? Second, what is the amount actually spent? Third, is there any shortfall which is incurred? Fourth, the previous year, is there any shortfall? What is the reason for that shortfall? Now, each and every person can do CSR activities in different ways. What is the nature of CSR activities? CSR ingara perla, have you entered into any related party transactions? Please mention that. Third is, if there is any contractual obligation, then we should be able to see the movements in the provisions which have been created during the year. Please mention that also separately. So, these 8 points, if you write, you are going to get the full marks, guys. This is with regard to corporate social responsibility. Details of cryptocurrency or virtual currency. If the company has traded or invested, what is the meaning of the word traded? What is the meaning of the word invested? You all will know. Traded means intraday, day-to-day trading. Today itself I'm buying, today itself I'm selling. That is traded. Invested means I am investing after 3 years, after 5 years I'm going to see. So if the company is involved in trading or investing of virtual currency or any kind of cryptocurrency, then please mention these 3 points. The first one is, if there is any profit made or loss made involving the cryptocurrency, please mention that separately. The second is, what is the amount of currency held as on the reporting date? Please mention. Third is, if they are going to get the funds and on behalf of somebody else the company is trading, that is deposits or advances from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in cryptocurrency or virtual currency, if it is that, please mention that also separately. So these 3 points, if you are going to write details of cryptocurrency or virtual currency, then you are going to get the full marks, guys. The third is details of Bami property being held. If there is any proceedings which have been initiated or which has been pending against the company for holding any Bami property, then please disclose these points. Now, this Bami Transactions Prohibition Act, we would have already seen in Caro, guys. I want you to correlate and study. Now, what are the points? If you have Bami property, now what are the points that you have to disclose? First, what is the details of the property, including which year you purchased the property, year of acquisition you have to give. What is the amount of the property? How many crores it is? Who are the beneficiaries? Give me the details. Now, sometimes the property will be shown in the books of accounts. Sometimes it will not be shown in the books of accounts. If it has been shown in the books of accounts, please give reference to that item in the balance sheet. If it is not shown in the books of accounts, please mention that fact that this property is a proceeding against the Bami Transactions Prohibition Act and it has not been shown in the books of accounts, followed by the reasons as to why it has not been shown in the books of accounts. If there is any proceedings against the company under this law, then please mention the nature of the proceedings, status of the proceedings, and what is the view of the company on the same. Now, these 6 points are there with respect to details of Bami property held by the company. The fourth one is with respect to relationship with struck-off companies. Struck-off companies means this is a dead company. This company is no longer a company as per MCA 21. If your company, which is under purview, you are the auditor of that company, and that company is having a relationship with a struck-off company, then you have to mention these details. Section 248, if you remember, you can write. This is not compulsory, guys. Now, what are the details that you have to give? Name of the struck off company. What is the nature of the transaction? Nature of the transaction, whether you have investment in security, whether there is any receivable from that struck off company, or you have to pay some money payable to that struck off company. Have you held shares in that struck off company, or that struck off company has held shares in you, or any other outstanding balances? If you have, please give the nature of the transaction with the struck off company. What is the balance outstanding, and is there any relationship? That struck off company is my subsidiary company, it is my holding company, it is my associate, it is my joint venture. Like that, if you have any relationship, please mention that also separately. This is the fourth one, relationship with struck off company. Fifth, the following ratios to be disclosed. Out of all the additional information, this is the one which has been tested multiple times, guys. What are the ratios to be disclosed? Usually, even if you have studied, you would have studied saying current ratio, debt equity ratio, service coverage ratio, return on equity ratio, inventory turnover ratio, trade receivables turnover ratio, trade payable turnover ratio, net capital turnover ratio, net profit ratio, return on capital employed, return on investment. Sometimes what they can ask is, they can give a list of ratios and ask you to find out what are the ratios to be disclosed. But most of the time, they will give the ratios itself for 2 years, and they will ask what should be disclosed, because here this paragraph is the most important paragraph. The company will explain the items included in the numerator and the denominator for computing, and further explanation shall be provided if the change in the ratio is more than 25% as compared to the preceding year. I told you they'll give ratios of 2 years, and you will be expected to find the difference between them, and the change, if it is more than 25%, you have to conclude saying further explanation has to be provided for these ratios, only because it is the change is more than 25%. Like that, if you write, you are going to get the full marks, guys. So remember these 5 very important. If it comes in exam, you should be able to score the full marks. Now, because this has been tested previously, it can be tested again also. So all the very best, guys. Do well.